Right, comrades, I would like to welcome you to another very key meeting of the Workers' International Network. We've been following the uprising of the youth throughout Asia in the last few meetings. We're very glad to welcome here today comrades from Indonesia, from India, from Sri Lanka. I think someone from Pakistan is on the way, and of course the comrades from Nepal, where there's been an absolutely stupendous mass uprising of the youth, which has already overthrown one government, and I don't think they're going to stop at that. So we're very, very pleased to welcome Comrade Bhawana, uh, who is going to give us an introduction for about 20-25 minutes, and then it's open to the comrade. We want to hear from as many comrades as possible because the experience of the revolution is something which we all want to keep our finger on the pulse. So, Comrade Bhavana, over to you.
Hi, red salute everyone. I'm Bhawana Ghimire. I'm from Nepal. I'm among the protesters, among the Gen Z protesters for September 8th. I'm a lawyer and I'm political engaged through Marxist Outlook. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the opportunity. Please bear with my English because it's not my native language and I was not that privileged to go to English medium. So it's not good. Though I'll try to communicate my words or my analysis. Uh, I want you all to keep in mind that my analysis or my uh, what I'm going to say is not the ultimate truth. There is different kind of uh, their analysis or different narratives, but I'll try to make it, or I'm going to make it through the working class lens. So the Gen Z, the red Gen Z, and the working proletariat Gen Z. This is my voice. Uh, I'll start with the briefing of Gen Z protest, Gen Z uprising in Nepal. I'm going to divide my reporting into three parts. First one is the briefing of Gen Z protest. Second, what is the cause? Under the cause, I'll uh, talk about the economic cause, political and socio-cultural cause, and then the solutions or the conclusion from my side. Let's start with the briefing of uprising, Gen Z uprising. First of all, it started in TikTok. Uh, the trend was Nepoki trend. It was influenced by the trend of Philippines, I think. And people started basically young and urban and elite who had I mean knowledge of English and who had access of technology and internet. They started the trend in TikTok. It was going on, it was just starting, and the government banned the social media, and that the ban fueled the uh, trend, fueled the anger. The trend was exposing the lavish life of Nepo kids who were living the lavish life, who were purchasing branded clothes and the branded cars. They are having holiday trips in foreign countries, in abroad. Uh, the people started to compare the situation of taxpayer and the people who were living or exploiting the taxes of the country, and ultimately they connected it with corruption. So first of all, uh, Gen Z's had two agendas. One is corruption that was came with the Nepokit trend, and then later the social media on ban. Uh, and then after connecting it to the corruptions and the Nepokit trends, suddenly a date is fixed. we still don't know who set the date for the September 8th. It was declared that September 8th people are going to gather in the Kathmandu, Maitigar Mandala to protest against the corruption in social media on web. People started to come to the Kathmandu in Maitigar Mandala. Basically, the major main spirit of protest was peaceful. People started in the peaceful way. Many groups joined the protest. It was not headed or led by any specific group or persons. I mean, we can say that it was uh, leaderless, and no one was leading the protest. So different groups were joining. I was also there to support, and I mean, the corruption is also my agenda, right? So I was there, and then we marched to the parliament, to the Baneshwar area, and I mean, one group was joining on 8, another in 9 and 10, and different groups were there. Approximately 20,000 people joined the protest. It went peaceful for a few hours, and then there was signs that it is going to balance. Then I and my comrades, we left the uh, protest area, and then later on that people are getting killed. The state brutally suppressed the protest and then killed uh, 19 people in the first day, and now the number is uh, more than 70. So after the first day's brutal repression, people came out to the street in the second day. In the second day, it was not just Gen Z protest; it was a protest as a whole. In the first day, as well, it was going. I mean, it was not only concentrated or not only in Kathmandu Valley, in the Kathmandu, but it was in other areas, part of Nepal as well. In the second day, from the very beginning, it went to Baland. Uh, People started to burn the houses of politicians, and then the other public places like the parliament and all other. In the second day, the demand was the resignation of Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, and then it all started. And at the midday, uh, the police force, the security surrender, and then the Prime Minister also resigned the post. They flew somewhere, and then the balance, the protest didn't stop, and it burnt all the three major organs of state, the judiciary, parliament, legislature, and the executive buildings, and it's all three tiers of government buildings. So it all went. There was no security or police, just the protest and the people who were burning places. And army didn't took any moment move there. And only after 10 p.m. it uh, I mean, army said that they are taking the move. So it all went, and the burning continued till 10 September. And in the ninth night, army took the, I mean, security charge in charge. And then yes, this is the briefing of uh, Genji protest. Uh, but there was something suspicious happened, and still it's going on. Army addressed the state despite president was there. Army sidelined the president and started negotiating with Gen Z groups. This, I mean, army played the suspicious role. The chaos went for 2 or 3 days, and we all were on terror. There was, I mean, kind of stateless situations, and there was no security. Uh, weapons, guns were looted, and more than, I mean, nearly 15,000 prisoners ran away from the prison. That was the chaos. And then later, interim government formed. Interim government has declared the election for the March, but still there is suspicious conditions. I mean, we are not sure election is going to held or not. Army is still there, and the government is not according to constitutions, but according to mandate. We can say that the mandate, the Genji mandate or the Genji demand was not about the changing the government or dissolve the parliament, etc. But later the situation turned everything in the different directions. Now the House of Representative is also dissolved. And here, uh, Balin, a populist figure, a mayor of Kathmandu metropolitan city, RSP, Rashtriya Swatantra Party, and its leader, they were directly involved. And the other forces who were demanding monarchy, restoration of monarch in Nepal, they played the role. This is our assumptions, and there are some kind of dots and evidence, and they were playing from the side of imperialist force. I can say I have evidence, and there are evidence. I'm not saying this, but there are dots. If we connect the dots, then we can say that the frustrations, the reason of coming to the street was genuine. People, the changes were there for the genuine reason, but the uh, protest or the moment, I mean, into the moment, some forces played the role for their interest. And yes, uh, we lost people. Basically, the trend started in social media was started by elite people, and now who are negotiating with the state, with the government, or who are claiming the positions. They are also elite and middle class, but who lost their life and who are injured. The number of injured people is more than hundreds. They are working class people, working class Gen Zs. They are almost sidelined from the, I mean, from the outside. I mean, there is very less talk about the situations and all, but there is the game going on for the positions, for the ministry positions. Basically, there are four forces now. They are world parties, majorly three parties. They are trying to come back to the power, and they start their looting. And there is a populist force, like NGO, Hami Nepal NGO, funded by the arm dealer or other foreign agencies. And there are elite Gen Z, Balin, and Rashtriya Swatantra Party, all of the populist forces. They are trying to use the movement for their political gain and for the positions. And there is monarchy forces who are, I mean, advocating for the restorations of monarchy here in Nepal, and the Hindutva or Hindu, I mean, Hindu state. I mean, they want to make it, and there are forces who are trying to, I mean, suspend the constitutions and all these things going on. And there is another force, progressive force here. It's very small, but they are trying. They are trying to save the constitutions, and I hope they will all get, I mean, organized and will be able to fight uh, for the preserve the achievements of general public. Uh, okay, then I'll move to causes. What was the cause behind the Gen Z uprising here in Nepal? I have divided the causes into three aspects. One is economic, second is political, and third is socio-cultural. Uh, what I believe is our frustrations and all things has a root on the economic system. Not only the present economic system, not only the neoliberalism, but we have long route of our history. I mean, from the origin of Nepal. So I'll go back to the unification or the establishment of central state authority in Nepal. In the late 18th century, there was unification or expansion or establishment of central state authority in Nepal. When central state authority established, uh, it uh, general public, they lost the collective ownership of property or the major production factor, the land. They lost the land collective ownership, and the state was expanding its territory. So they were in need of huge surplus. So they impose a high tax to the general public. And then there was mediator, feudal lord, and they were taking the more surplus from the general public to live onto their or for their life. So general public left with no surplus, and there was no money, and the exploitation of general public started from there. And in 1814 and 1816 AD, Nepal collided with the imperialist capitalism in the form of war when Nepal was expanding its territory. And when we collide with the imperialist capitalism, and then we ended with the treaty called Sugauli Treaty. After that, Nepal lost the manufacturing. Nepal had manufacturing productions, but Nepal lost the manufacturing. And then with the friendly treaty with British India, we just turned into the locked market of British India. There was a free flow of commodities, and the collapse of every local productions or the manufacturing here. And we turned into the semi-colonial state. The people or the state, they live a lavish life, or they use the surplus they took from the general public for their lavish life, for their the life. And then people had to migrate from Nepal to India and Bhutan for low wage work. And then state also sent the people as an army to British India regiment. I mean, Nepalese, the general public started to migrate. There was no production system totally collapsed, no national capital, and the world labor power just migrated from Nepal. And the state functioned as in for imperialist capitalism. So this trend is still going on. Still, the character of Nepalese state is as in for monopoly capital now, as in for uh, multinational companies, and still we Nepal is not being able to uh, start the productions and the formation of national capital. So what I'm trying to say is our appreciations or our frustration has connection with the history. From the history, we are being oppressed, we are being looted through the state. The state is playing the role, and it's preserving the interest of capitalists, all these things. And yes, we are neoliberal state now. And then in this situation, I'm not saying that only the internal economic cause has lead us to these situations, but we must connect it to the global uh, economic order today as well. And now the state has got the subsidies. I mean, we are not in conditions, right? I mean, we are not allowed allowed to have our own production system or manufacturing. I mean, we must welcome the free flow of capital, free flow of commodities, and all these things. Just we are the market, and I mean there is no productions and all these things going on. So we, I mean the Nepalese or is global south, uh, with no productions, with no national capital, just as a market, we don't have jobs. So people are the majority of I mean Nepalese are young generations, and they don't have job. They are, I mean the primitive accumulations, the process of primitive accumulation is going on here. People are being displaced from the agriculture, and they are forced to come to the center of the country. They are coming to the headquarters of the or province capital, and the capital of Nepal, and there is no job. So they are forced to migrate from here to the other countries, to the centers, and this is going on. And then uh, all these things are linkage with the global capitalism has caused our suffering. There is the connections. And then in the second, the political cause is, of course there was external cause, and the geopolitical cause was there, but the major was internal. uh, Leftist or Marxist communists, they were in the power. They are still in the power, but they were working for the capitalists, not for the working class people. They are hugely disconnected. They don't have program for the people, for to ease the life of general public, to create the jobs, to make the life easy. They are just living a lavish life, and they are politicizing their cadres, or the members, the young people who are in their parties. They are playing the role for the imperialist power. They are playing the role for Hindutva politics and all these things. They are not uh, working for people, but for various interests. They are they stabilize the nations, and all these things goes to them, and they just turned, I mean, away, and they are not connected with us. They don't care about us, and all these things, and their reactions to the public, and their moment, they are monopolizing their political parties structures, and all, and being I mean, attacking the democracy, and all these things caused the huge dissatisfactions towards them. That also played the role. And yes, left or the Marxist communists, they failed to the general public. Uh, we keep changing the system. We changed from the partyless system to multi-party, and to the monarchy, to the republican system, but the economic system, or the economic policies remained the same, and the political parties didn't play any role to change the economic policies, or ease the economic condition of people. Just exploitations keep going and going and going, and people had to migrate. I mean, if we say, I mean, in my family as well, it's the third generation we are migrating. My grandfather, he migrated to India for the job, and then my father and my siblings, they are abroad. I mean, it's generation to generation. We had to migrate. So the political parties didn't play the role. They just, I mean, enjoy or exploit us and work as and for monopoly capital. And then in the third socio-cultural aspects, people are now connected with the international phenomenon, or the, I mean, they are being able to see the life of middle class, or the people who are living abroad in the Western world. and the consumerisms, internalized consumerism also played a role. They want to live or consume more. They want to live a good life. I mean, this is very human thing, or this is natural. And they saw these things in different countries, but the material condition here is not the same. So there was here, I mean, the frustration with middle class. They wanted, I mean, to fulfill their desire and wants. And the lumpen proletariat as well, is they wanted that kind of life. They still want. So that cause the frustrations as well. So basically, the working class, working Gen they came to the street for their necessities, for their survival, and the middle classes, elite Gen came to the street to for their desire and needs. That was the thing. And then in the conclusion sections, I'll say, what can be the solution for now? We want elections. Uh, we just want to protect the achievements and Nepalese people achieved in this years through their struggles. So we want the constitutions to remain to function, and the election held peacefully and successfully. Elections is the short term our I mean solutions, and in long run, our problem, the suffering of working class is lied to the production system. So we want a collective ownership of means of productions, and we're linked to delink our economy, or the economic system with the neoliberalism or the global economic order, and form the national capital, or the protect our national economy. Ultimately we want socialism, and this system which works better for the working class people. And yes, we know it's not easy to get all these things. So I mean, we, or the people who are in the left movement, they need to play a very crucial role now. These power vacuum usually, and there is a need to tell the people that the problem, the cause of our suffering lies on these things, and the solution is this. So for this, left, they need to discuss and learn more about the current form of capitalism and imperialism, then create awareness to the general public, and then get organized and make a political program, and then have an international collective movement, and the fight against the uh, economic world order. I mean, the capitalism and imperialism, and ultimately make some better conditions here. So I mean, I hope this the vacuum will be felt by the communist. And yes, I think I communicated the basic things of Nepal's moment, the Gen Z moment. If there is something, then I'll add later. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade.
You are
Thank you.
mute.
Thanks.
Okay.
Matthew, are you able to take over the chair?
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. So, comrades, who wants to speak or to ask questions? Can't be absolutely nobody. Go on, Roger.
Okay, I didn't want to come in this early, but I would like to ask some questions and make a couple of points. I think the general reputation of Nepal around the world is that's where Mount Everest is, and it's a kind of exotic holiday destination. But actually, it's had an incredibly especially turbulent history in the last 20, 30 years, especially of one uprising or revolution or coup after another, where we had the um, the overthrow of the royal family, uh, which was anticipated by a massacre actually from within the palace. There was a ostensibly communist party in the government over the last few years, although actually there have been I I realised today, looking it up, that in the last 17 years there have been 14 governments in Nepal, and it's obviously a sign of the complete frustrations, particularly of the youth. It's an overwhelmingly youthful population, as is the case in most of the region. And in that situation, of course, as we've said in previous meetings, there's been an absolutely complete uprising, particularly of young people, which has spread from country to country, from Sri Lanka to Bangladesh to Thailand to Indonesia to Nepal, of course, to the Philippines, to the civil war in Myanmar, and of course a very unstable situation in Pakistan and in India. We've said for some time not just that the uh, repeated general strikes of literally the biggest strikes in history, 250 million at the time, but also the particular problem of youth unemployment, which means that the likelihood of a youth uprising in India too, or in fact several which have broken out in different regions, but possibly coming together, linking up into a national youth uprising, because youth unemployment is absolutely at just massive levels, huge percentage, particularly of the kind of 20 to 25 age year group, which I think would be were probably the main forces in the uprisings in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and in Nepal. So, I mean, we've said before that the youth unemployment situation in India is like a ticking time bomb, which could explode at any moment there too. So we've seen all these things. I would like to ask Bhavana specifically one or two questions. The first of all, how would you assess the role of the Communist Party, or I think the various fissions or splits of the Communist Party in the recent period? Uh, it has been alleged, I think completely ludicrously, that this uprising has all been manipulated, and it's part of a CIA plot to restore the monarchy and so on, which I'm sure is complete nonsense. But I would like to say I have seen it alleged that there's a feeling of a restoration of the monarchy. I don't believe that is at all a popular demand. But could Bhavana say something about that, because it has been um, put about in press reports and so on in the West. So really, that's it. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Roger. Norma?
Hello, thank you very much for this presentation, and thank you to Roger for these comments. I have some questions and points I don't see clearly, so I try, mainly summarize in 3 points, which include the questions. And the first is the common situation with the recent youth, or not so young, struggles set in the other countries, and we heard the Philippines, related Philippines, Indonesia, some in India too, and others. I mean, I don't mention all of them, about the economic situation and the frustration which came. I mean, it's a situation which came commonly, the instability, the corruption too. That is one thing. Now, which is for you? I mean, the speaker, Guyana. The main or the worst political forces or the causes which led to this situation, if not one, at least some of them. As I understand, the Communist Party, which was a coalition or have included also other forces, which is the role? I mean, Nepal is a small territory and inserted, set geographically, in the middle of big countries. One of them is China, the other India. Which is the role, or what, or is that role you felt, the inhabitants felt such an influence or not? I mean, I am surprised that is not mentioned, but perhaps it's like that. And the other is the role of trade unions. Are organized trade unions, are emergent, you are fighting also for social, beside economic situation, you are also fighting for education, rights, minorities' rights, human or human rights. I have not, perhaps because of my English, I have not heard so much about that. And the other two, and I finish, is about a climate situation, because the diversity, I mean, you have a diversity, a biodiversity, which is very rich for our planet. And one of them, I mean, is because that produce also from the earth, produce to nourish the inhabitants. So the sovereignty of alimentation set. And this, the climate crisis, and also that influence you, in despite of the fact that there is no sure industrialization or super industrialization or super technology, which is connected with my, with my question about how about education, superior education, set universities, technology developments, and so on. So these are 3 points. I hope it was clear. If not, thank you very much. And thank you, Matthew, for giving me the opportunity to.
Thanks, Norma. Ian.
Hi, thank you. First of all, just to say you are absolutely excellent, your English. Not just better than my Nepali, but I could have mistaken you for a native speaker. I've got a few questions sort of following on from Roger and from what you were saying about dots that were being joined. Because I have seen some anti-imperialists alleging this thing about the CIA involvement. The first I saw was about the National Endowment for Democracy running anti-Tibet things out of Nepal. I think geographically that would be pretty much a constant of Nepal's situation and the total red herring in terms of this. But I have seen it since being celebrated as some kind of anti-communist uprising on right-wing YouTubes. I was sent one by Comrade the other day as a kind of cautionary tale. I might post it in the chat in a minute. I think that obviously the idea of it being like Eastern Europe 1989 totally misses the point. This wasn't a communist single party state or a vanguard party of any kind. These were multiple communist parties, but perhaps uniquely for multiple split communist parties, they were also mainstream parties, a lot of them. Some of them, I believe, in government and coalition with non-communist parties. Some of them, I think, in opposition. You can correct me if I got any of that wrong. I have heard, though, that the attacks were mainly on various Communist Party offices, and also the Nepali Congress, which is a kind of social democratic party now, I think, very hidebound, coming out of the struggles in the 40s and 50s for democracy, and that they left right-wing party offices alone. And so, if that worrying thing is true, let us know. Also about the issue of the monarchists and the Hindu nationalists. I don't know. This is one totally united movement or two overlapping movements. I'm assuming there is some overlap because it was the Hindu kingdom before the republic. I did notice before all this kicked off a few months ago, there was a report of monarchist riots in Nepal that on their own didn't go nearly as far as this. But yeah, in terms of it's inspired a lot of things over here in our own much more minor inner party troubles that we've been having in Britain. I've seen on some of the local WhatsApp chats people saying, well, they were able to elect the government of Nepal on Discord with the protesters. Why can't we sort something out from the rank and file in our own party in terms of leadership? Won't bore you with any more details on that, but I have been thinking, well, on the other hand, these issues, is there any reason why, even though it's not any kind of socialist government that we'd like, that the West might want to undermine the Nepali government? I wasn't aware of it being particularly non-aligned or multipolar previously, but maybe it was on the Belt and Road. Two it now isn't. I don't know. But yeah, this anti-communist narrative, is there a rising right-wing mood in the public? Two very specific quick things. I know a few years ago, Modi's government blockaded Nepal. That previously, because of this relationship with India, the dominance was that Nepal was almost part of India and there was a basically open border. And then Modi changed it to assert dominance a different way by blockading the country. So I can't imagine there'd be huge amounts of sympathy for him, but there is this rising movement that's the same as his movement. So I don't know if there's any contradictions there. If they'd even want to join India in what would be some kind of an Anschluss. Sorry if you don't know that word, that's actually German, but it's when Austria joined Germany under an even more fascist regime than Modi's. So that would be very negative in this scenario, although actually something similar happened with Sikkim in the 70s and totally different nature, perhaps. But so there was that blockade and what the effects of that, if anything, are. And also, the communists did come together, the communists who were in government a few years ago, and then the courts, I think, ordered that they re-establish their split parties, that the merger was invalid. And they just went and did that. And I can't make head or tail of it. I think it shows that maybe there was some bias against the communists and other elements of the state. But also, what real communists would, just having found the basis of unity, decide to split over being told to by the courts. So that was very mysterious to me. And if you know anything about that, let us know. And finally, with all these other communist parties, brackets this, brackets that, is there any space for a CPNT? Or would that be the wrong name for it in the current climate, perhaps?
Okay, thanks, Ian. Aman.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. It was something which I didn't know very much about, Bhawana. Thank you for going through it and giving us an update. I had one question, or at least from what you had said. Maybe I misunderstood, but I got the impression that you were saying that there is a change in the state, obviously from the point of view of bringing or trying to increase the number of workers by bringing them from the rural areas into the urban areas, and what you call migration. That's fine. But the question I had was that it seemed that you were saying that there is a tendency or some sort of a feeling that it could be possible for a small bourgeoisie or national capital to be formed. Now, I wasn't sure whether I understood that correctly or not, because it seems somehow that there could be part of the bourgeoisie in your talk that could be actually working in the favor, or if you like, could work along the line of improving the situation. I don't know whether I misunderstood that or not. If it was, I think it would not be something which would actually be considered. I think we're living in an age that any section of the bourgeoisie would actually work together in terms of whether you're talking about the order of the use of different countries in terms of the global division of the labor. But am I correct in understanding that you were saying there are parts of the national bourgeoisie, national capital, that could be in somehow along the line of the progressive movement? I'm just trying to understand that myself. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Aman. Maya.
First of all, thank you, comrades, for arranging this discussion today on the 28th. I use the opportunity to extend my solidarity with comrades struggling in Nepal. And I particularly use the occasion today because it is the birth anniversary of a very well-known Indian revolutionary, Bhagat Singh. And what better day than to, across borders, extend our solidarity and hope that we can march forward with a clear-cut agenda, revolutionary agenda. Having said that, I'd like to put one qualifier. There are many things that have been shared by Bhavna. One doesn't want to, go into the details of a lot of them. Like, for example, I know within Nepali communists, there is a lot of debates on the, stage theory of the revolution. So not going into those kind of debates, but more specifically on what has unfolded in September and the kind of, experiences and observations that she has shared. I'm also doing this because these very specific comments, because one is examining and writing a piece on Nepal. So I'd really like to hear from Bhavna on these very pointed concerns. So basically, the way I've understood what Bhavna has shared is that she's highlighted, with respect to the September uprising, the identity of the protesters, the action that they took, and the agenda, the question of agenda. And on these three questions, that the identity, the social composition of the protesters, the action that they took, and the agenda that drove them. I appreciate the fact particularly that you highlighted the diverse nature of the composition of the identities of people. That you delineated very clearly and importantly that there was an elite segment that was there on the streets, and there was the subaltern masses. And I think understanding particularly where the subaltern masses, came from in terms of their agenda and concerns is very crucial to also unravel what lies ahead. In terms of the second point, action. Here I had this, kind of concern that kept coming up while you were sharing what you observed. You see, of course, there are differences in the narratives on how the action unfolded, the protests unfolded. But what one can see across the board is, this very strong tendency I see of disowning, disowning the mass movement's turn towards violence. I mean, the violence we know is a very important medium of many mass movements, and it's also a product of certain very concrete historical conditions. And my concern, my question is, can violence just be what we saw in September, what we've seen in other movements? Can we so easily, relegated to or reduced merely to instigation, and hence we get trapped when we're looking and analyzing these movements. We get trapped in this, watertight binary of, violent movement is bad and a more controlled kind of movement is better. So, this is one concern I was hoping you could, express what you have felt and seen. And the second thing is in terms of, related to this, that, in reality, if we look at, if the violent phase hadn't happened, second half of 8th September and continued into 9th and 10th September, then the regime change wouldn't have happened. And you said it, in so many words yourself in your presentation, that a lot of the Gen Z, were not looking for a regime change. So I'm just concerned about that larger narrative of disowning the violent turn. And we know this also because of the tradition of Nepal's very long struggle against monarchy, and from the period of the late 90s onwards. So absolutely formidable movement, which was very much imbricated in constant violent actions against the state and its various manifestations. On the question of agenda, very clearly, what one has seen and somewhere fleetingly also reflected in your own reflections of what happened. I think the main takeaway is that one can't, deny that there's actually a lack of agenda. Of course, I'm not saying that the elite participants in this uprising, the elite Gen Z, don't have an agenda. They do have an agenda. And it's quoted in this very, very, major terminology. It's anchored around this whole notion of corruption, to fight corruption. And hence this overt emphasis on, technocracy. That you want educated, young leaders, dynamic people. And, it's of course a very convenient way of doing, involving yourself or creating a public opinion, because corruption at the end of the day is itself a class-informed phenomenon. You can't understand corruption minus class, or any kind of class analysis. Just for example, the mayor, who was hitting the rating. I mean, he had very high ratings on apps, etc., like Discord, and your work, Bhavna, is on digital divides. So I think you too would be seeing the irony here when on an app like Discord, you have 3,000 votes deciding who's going to be the best, next leader of Nepal. And I think one of the four running names was the mayor. Who is he? It's a person in his fan following, were basically part of, exercises like removing squatters in the name of beautification of the city, etc. Now, that kind of, politics, that kind of agenda of corruption, you see squatters as a manifestation of corruption, of things not being as per law. But actually, if you look at the other side from the subaltern working class perspective, what is, corruption looks very different from the point of view of the squatter, the person who's displaced, the person who the system doesn't provide, any feasible, productive, alternative employment. So really, I mean, the elite in this movement have their agenda. What I want to understand is, what is the subaltern agenda? What is the concrete subaltern agenda? And when we're reflecting on that subaltern agenda and its fleeting manifestations in uprisings like this, are we somewhere dangerously getting close to a convergence with the elites, elite forces, elite activists agenda? Just to elaborate, I mean, when we're saying that the way out is ultimately upholding the constitution, that is the subaltern masses agenda. Free and fair elections, okay, is the agenda, as if elections have not been happening in Nepal earlier. They have been. But have they provided the liberation that the masses actually fought for from the late 90s onwards? So my point is that, it seems to be this kind of convergence between the elite Gen Z spokesperson and, those coming more from the subaltern side, Gen Z spokesman. That convergence has to be seen. that, what you're seeing as a projecting as a subaltern agenda, I think has amply been shown as inadequate. So my comments on that. Now, thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Bhawana, do you want to come back on that? There's a huge lot of questions in there. Yeah. Yeah, okay, great. You managed to unmute anyway.
Okay. Do you want me to answer the question, or
Yeah,
I'll
if
just
you can
wait
go
for
through
all?
at least some of them. I can't imagine you'll be able to get through all of it, but
Yeah, there are lots of questions. I
Sorry,
don't
can
know.
I
I'll
just point,
remember all the questions,
Bhawana, can I
but
just
I'll
point
try
out,
to.
it's not the end of the discussion, just
There is
some of the direct
Enrico.
questions if you answer, and then the discussion will
we'll go. Yeah, we'll go back. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll try to remember all question and answer with my limited understanding and knowledge. I'm not going to say that I'm qualified to answer all these questions, but yeah, I will try uh, with my very very little knowledge. Okay. Yes. Communist parties are in the power in Nepal. We saw the People's War as well, and yes, the government is changing time and again, and the communists are in the power. But what we can say is they are communist in the name, not in the program. They have history of, uh, I mean, revolt or the revolution, but now they are failed and they don't have program. They just, I mean, in the name they are different, but there is no difference between any political parties here in Nepal. There is one political party which is populist force, but with all the three political parties, Nepali Congress and the CPN UML and the Maoist Center, there is no difference, and there is no any difference. I mean, basically, they don't have any programs, they don't have any plans, and all these things. So, I mean, yes, they, I mean, for the role in the aspect of role, they have failed. They are not playing the role from the side of the working class people or the for the general public, but playing the role, I mean, from the side of capitalist or something like this. Yes, monarchy. There is boys and there are people who are advocating for monarchy, because in the monarchy, very few people, they were privileged enough to get the benefit from the state. They used to get special treatment and the help. So there is force, but what I believe is most of the Nepalese, they don't want monarchy to be back. We have seen the monarchy, and they just exploited the general public. So basically I don't want, but if I say the other people, I think majority of Nepalese people, they don't want monarchy to be back. But there is I mean, the crisis all over the world. So in the mid of the crisis, the fascist, the fascist or the populist and all other regressive forces, they play the role. I mean, they try to persuade the people, and they try to come to the power, and general people, public, they believe that, okay, this is the solution. They just want the solutions, and they just get out from their suffering. So I mean, this happens everywhere in India and in Nepal. I mean, the populists are trying to come, and the people, I mean, mistakenly trust that, okay, monarchy, I mean, well, can save us or will take away from our suffering. But what I believe is, I mean, in reality, they will not. And most of the Nepalese people, they don't trust their agendas or their rhetoric or their, I mean what they are trying to say about the monarchy. So this is the answer for Razor. If I missed your question, then please let me know later. Yes, there are lots of causes for the uprising. I'm not saying there is only one cause. I mean, I'm not being an economic determinist. There are lots of causes, but majorly what I believe is uh, it is directly or mainly linked with the economy or our economic conditions. There are situations or the political system are getting changed, but the conditions of people are not getting changed. I mean, they were suffering and they are still suffering, and they were in poverty and they still are in poverty. They were searching jobs and they still are searching jobs. This is going on. So, uh, I mean, my analysis is yes, it is. I mean, primarily related with the economic condition and the job and the lack of resources and opportunities. And yes, there are trade unions, but with the neoliberal policies, I mean, trade unions are weakened. They are kind of powerless. And if there is no moment, the strong political moment, all other movements related with political movements also get weaker. Just like the women's movement here in Nepal and Dalit movements and the trade union movement as well. So there are trade unions, or I mean, basically, we don't have that much of industries or space for a trade union. They are, but it's not in huge number. People are working in the social sector nowadays, and they are, I mean, not being able to get union or unionized. Basically, in the young generations, they are working in freelancing, and it's. I mean, they don't have workers' rights. They are any and the labor that doesn't apply for people who are working in freelancing, and they have to work for the longer hours and all these things. It's going on, and other people, young people, they are I mean, working on the, I mean, in the gig work as a writer and delivery people, etc. And they also don't have opportunity to get unionized. So the power of union is, I mean, is weak here, and the legal protection or the state, I mean, is reluctant. I mean, is not interested to protect the rights of trade unions. And yes, uh, the ecological crisis. I mean, Nepal is among the highly impacted country here. I mean, by the ecological crisis, the flood and landslide and all these things. And state is playing the role to worsening the uh, climate crisis here in Nepal in local level as well. It's the global phenomena, and but state is also playing the role here in local level as well. Not to protect the people from the crisis, but to increase the crisis. I mean, to deepen the crisis. And the displaced people are just displaced. There is no subsidies. There is no protections or security or anything. No any help. So yes, there is frustrations every. I mean, recently, I mean, it's going on. There's landslides and the flood. It's also going on, and I mean, state is. I mean, has curtail its role, right? It must curtail its roles in the neoliberal policies of the state, and it is curtailing their role. So they are powerless. I mean, there is no state or the support system who are displaced through the climate crisis. So all are linked, and the people who are suffering directly with the crisis. I mean, there is anger and the frustrations, and I think that also played the role to the uprising. And
Yep.
okay, yes, is the communist parties here in Nepal. They failed and they are just communist in the name, not in the program and the agenda and all these things. So people usually don't want to hear the communist word. I mean, basically, it's the systemic thing as well. I mean, the young generations, they are being politicized, and I mean, the competitions and the individualism and the hating the politics is, I mean, it's being common and the cultural thing, right? And the other thing is this, and similarly the dysfunction or I mean being dysfunctional by the communist parties. I mean, they felt to the public, general public, to the voters and all these things. So yes, the narratives, anti-communist narratives is going on, and the hitting the political parties. I mean, after the Gen Z uprising, the hate towards the political parties, mainly three political parties, is huge. I mean, it's going on, and there are trends who are engaged in the politics, mainly with the three political major political parties, and they are who are around the leaders. I mean, there is one trend going on in the social media exposing, calling them Jole. Uh, so yes, it's going on, and it's a systemic thing as well. I mean, attacking to the political parties, and there are forces who are trying to I mean, influence or manipulate the people, saying that it's very bad to be political or getting into the political organizations, but it's good to I mean, be a leader. I mean, be a independent leader and something like that. It's going on. Uh, Sorry, I didn't get the questions about the national capital, but I'll say that what I mean is let's discuss about what can we do to create the jobs here or create the situation which works for working class people. I was just trying to say, okay, I'm not saying this is the final way or things to do, but yes, we have to create a situation which works for us, for the working class people. uh, so for that, I mean, based on my knowledge or history, I was saying, okay, national capital, not just through the bourgeois or capitalist, or it can be through the state power or the state ownership or national protections. And any means, we need to create the economic opportunities or erase the inequality and equal ownership, collective ownership on the means of productions and the opportunities. And yes, there is a tendency or there is narratives which rejects the balance. I'm not saying balance is bad. I mean, it's the mandatory tool. And if a state is the poorest state and which is very violent in natures, and they will crush you or the general public, then there is no other way than to fight violently. I mean, we need to tackle on that way. So I'm not saying violence is bad, but what I meant is the very intention of Gen Z movement was not to be violent, and still Gen Zs who are claiming leaders, themselves leaders, they are saying that we are not the people. I mean, the act done by violently are not our act. So the pattern and the turning every thing into assets within the 2 or 3 hours, there must be a planned way. There must be a plan. There are petrol bombs and all other things are being used, and the systematically map circulating each other, which one to burn and not, and they have chosen intentionally whose house is to burn and who's not, and which court to burn and which not. They have attacked the court where the populist leader Ravi Lamishani's cases are in primarily, and then looted the documents. And all these things, I mean, while connecting these things, we can say that, okay, there must be a force. I mean, there is one video where you can clearly see that one political leader of Rashtriya Swatantra Party was in the jail to release their president of the party, who was accused of multiple cases and was in jail, and they released him. And the political leader of RSP, Rashtriya Swatantra Party, was there, and there is video. So I mean, all these things, I mean, with these all things we can connect, okay, there was something, uh, and the intentions and the planning and the preparations, all these things can say that, okay, it was not done, I mean, with the race or on the spot, but it was planned. But what we need to be cautious is when we punishing or criminalizing, it will be very bad to criminalize every protester. It's I mean, doing the protest is very fundamental rights of every people. So and some kind of violence or something can happen. It's just a political act, right? But we can't say everything is political. We need to examine what were political and what were not, and need to punish accordingly. So yeah, this is the thing. Yes, corruptions, elite uh, who
Can
were
you wind up
leading.
there? Just we'll go there. Can you finish up there just for just a minute? We'll come back at the end.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'll just answer the corruption part. Yes, they were not. I mean, still were. I think they were still were talking about the corruptions, and they didn't understand. I think the people who were talking on the TikTok about this corruptions, they just talk about the political corruptions, but the root cause of political corrections, corruptions, this is the class things, age, Maya said, and the corporate corruption is also the major corruption here in Nepal. So they just say the plain corruptions are the political corruptions, but we need to be cautious what corruptions are, from which perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really interesting. Enrico.
Okay, sorry. I know very well that after I finish, I will not be the most popular in everybody, because in my opinion, you know, we don't and I didn't heard any explanation of which is the really matter. You know, what is the really matter in all this talking. Apart of the analysis that could be more or less, I heard, I was last week participating to the Indonesian, what we call spring. Now we're talking about the Nepal spring. The thing is that we mistake, in my opinion, you know, don't know how you said in English, anyway, the real matter. As a Lotta Comunista militant, is all my life that I am not popular. We are not popular. We were not popular during the Vietnam War, because we were not thinking that was a revolution or a communist revolution. We were not popular before because we were anti-Stalinist. We were not popular against when it was the fashion of the Maoists. Everybody was the China Revolution, and we were not popular because we were not Maoist. We were not Castrist. We were not Che Guevarist. The end of the day, I am used to be not popular or not understand. The thing is that what I can divide is this. In one is the missing analysis or the wrong analysis of the communism in one state. That was an invention of Stalin. Marx, Engels, and Lenin explain very well that is not possible a communism in one state. So if we pretend Stalin changed the analysis in support of the Russian capitalism and nothing else. So communism in one state is not possible, and the history have demonstrated that. Or we go to, I think is a big mistake, especially in the Trotskyist tradition, that every movement is revolutionary because is against the imperialism, and also that is not true. We pass in the last only 20, 25 years many spring revolution. You know, we saw in Egypt, in Hungary, in everything. And the result we have in front of us, a failure in every kind of this mass movement without, I don't want to offend the people that have suffered and they fight for one idea that, in my opinion, is wrong. We cannot change anything until we change the system. Instead, in all this revolution, what I can see is big talking about the working class, but really in the matter is we're talking about reform against the corruption. The corruption is a part in the part of the capitalist system. Corruption is part of the state. You don't go rid of corruption until you have a capitalism system. You don't go rid of corruption until you have a state, a capitalist state. So in my opinion, and what I see more, I'm sorry, I will be very quick. What I see is that a mass of young people, mass of workers that have fight, have been killed, have been in prison, etc. In the end, they leave, and because they say, well, I fight, I try to change, as I said, in my opinion, in the wrong way, and nothing is changed. So why I have to fight? And we go on and see campaign year after year in a different part of the world or in the same part of the world with mass people that try to fight and after disappear. And we remain in our hand with nothing. So that is not my or our, talking about my party, our point of view. Our point of view is that we have to restart, to study deeply and understand our master. I'm talking about Marx, Engels, Lenin. I can put in also Cervetto and even Trotsky, Rosa Luxemburg, because nobody's perfect. Everybody make some mistake. But we have to start from the beginning, because if not, we will going on all the time, year after year. And believe me, I have more than 50 years of experience, and I passed through all this experience, to talking and have nothing in our hand. So that is just what I have to say. I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Comrade. Norma.
No, perhaps Bhawana want to answer or to react to Enrico's words. I don't know if I understood well some statements by Enrico, but I try because I need to react to that. I mean, from my own experience too. I mean, from different countries. If I well understood, Enrico, one of the statements were that corruption is intrinsic or is only in part or said inherent to the capitalism and the capitalist state. If I understood well that, and I mean, it is true, of course, that there are a lot of corruption in different countries, in different capitalist states, but it's true too that corruption and even if not inherent, but corruption is present in socialist system or was present in socialist system or in socialist states or in some periods of them with huge problems for the people in different kinds. And we could make studies, I mean, with real fact and comparatives. But this is as a general statement I want to make too. Thank you. I mean, including Nepal and other countries. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Norma.
If I can answer just briefly, very quickly.
Very briefly, Comrade.
The thing is that probably you are not aware of our party, a lot of communists. We didn't recognize never any socialist state. The socialist, the try of make a revolution. The socialist revolution ended with the NAP. So we did never recognize as a socialist any state that declared to be socialist. We never agreed that Cuba was a socialist, China was a socialist, the Soviet Union with Stalin was a socialist. So for us, as you say, the problem of corruption is intrinsic inside the state, and you don't, until it's capitalism, and for us, Russia, China, Cuba, etc., they were not socialist, they were capitalist state. So I am agree with you, in all the what you call socialist states, for us, we're not socialists. And if you look in the literature of our party, is since the end of the 1940 that we stated that.
Okay, thanks, Comrade. Yeah. Oh, Roger.
Well, Comrade Enrico, with all due respect, I think you also perhaps haven't been listening to what we're saying. I don't think any of us have said that that Russia or Cuba or China or any of the countries you mentioned were socialist. Of course, you can't have socialism in a single country. That's elementary for us. The reason why we discuss these, the outbreaks of the uprisings that are taking place around the world is precisely to try to sharpen up our understanding and our program of what is necessary. Obviously this is not the place at this particular meeting to go into the whole theoretical background, but if you've been coming, of course you've only recently been attending our meetings, but precisely what this what our purpose is, what the whole purpose and objective of the Workers' International Network is precisely to discuss and compare notes on all the experiences and all the struggles of the working class as they are up to around the world, and to draw conclusions. And that means not only the current struggles, but the past struggles, the historical heritage, and so on. We completely agree that the idea that Castro or Mao or Stalin were in any kind of were socialists in any way is completely anathema to us. So we've never we've never given any hint or indication that we do trust their credentials on that. The point is that there is a worldwide revolution. There is the working class and, in fact, the mass of the population in all of the countries that we're focusing our attention on in our meetings. In all of these, there is a common struggle and a common problems, common issues, and common objectives. In that the working class and the youth are striving for a solution to the intolerable problems that they're facing. And capitalism can only, whether in any country, whether it's in Nepal or whether it's in the USA, that capitalism can solve none of the problems of ordinary working people and the mass of the population in any country, and that it needs a worldwide movement. We are the Workers' International Network precisely for that reason, that we're trying to bring together comrades engaged in struggles around the world in order to compare notes, in order to learn from each other's struggles, and in order to sharpen the spearhead theoretical sharpness in creating and devising not just a program but a movement. We believe that a new Workers' International will be created, is being created. We see it in the when you look at the uprisings around the world, starting from really a couple of decades ago with the turn of the millennium, but particularly since the Arab Spring, and then more recently in the uprisings that we've seen worldwide in every continent, and that we're seeing now particularly coming to the fore in the Asian continent, is the common struggles of the working class facing complete catastrophe in their living standards, the youth with no future and with absolutely no way out of their problems, apart from in struggle to overthrow the oppressive system. And the system that oppresses them is not just feudalism or just the monarchy and so on. It's the capitalist system worldwide and the stranglehold of the giant monopolies and of the billionaire and even trillionaire classes that are beginning to emerge, that are choking the possibility of any future for the working class or for the youth or for the mass of the population in any country. And definitely it's a socialist, we need an international socialist revolution. But we don't leave it at just abstractions like that. We have to say, in particular, in the different countries we focus on, in Indonesia last week, in Nepal this week, in Philippines in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a meeting on that. In the Middle East next week, we have a meeting of a left member of parliament, actually a Communist Party member of the Knesset in Israel. And all of these, well, we have comrades here now from 11 countries, I've calculated. We've had comrades from 8 countries who participated in this discussion today. That is all part of the process of sharpening up a proper political program and laying the foundations for a mass international, which we won't create. But it is being created in front of our eyes. We can see it in this mass movement of the population. It's inconceivable to me that the youth of Nepal do not see a common interest that they have with the youth of Indonesia and the other countries where the uprising has taken place. And part of the purpose of the Workers' International Network is to play our small part, our modest part, but in linking these struggles together and in sharpening up a political program. But I can reassure Comrade Enrico, in no way do we foster any illusions that Stalin or Mao or Castro or any of the regimes that he mentioned in any way provide any model or any way forward.
Thanks, Roger. Dominic.
Yeah, it's again on Enrico's comments, because it strikes me that the conclusion of his comments are that we should all sit on our hands until the working class across the world as one mass rise up against capitalism. So you might as well just say, well, let's have fascism then, because if you leave that sort of gap behind in the crisis facing the working class around the world, we're not going to answer anything, therefore somebody else will. I mean, what we're here today to discuss the situation in Nepal is not because it's a theatre in a university where we all take notes and think, yeah, that's one thing, and we'll move on to the next. What we're really here for is what help and what support can we give to the comrades in Nepal, what advice we can give, and all that sort of stuff, and examples of the past that you can really help to build the unity of the working class on an international scale. And without building the unity of the working class on an international scale, you're not going to have anything internationally. We're not looking at one country and that's it. We're looking at the whole scheme, as Roger was saying. But you can't say that things are going to go on. A revolution is going to start across the globe. It's going to start in certain countries, and that's going to provide a spark for other countries and for other workers. That's the way I see it developing. And I think you can't sort of come down with something. We're not like Stalin. Stalin said socialism in one country. We know that can't happen. Therefore, we can't do anything about a revolutionary process in one country. It's just nonsense to me. We give support in the same way as workers would give support to a factory on strike by other workers in other factories doing what they can to support that strike. And that's the same thing you take on a larger scale on the international scene. I'll finish there.
Okay, thanks, Comrade. So now I think we just need to go for to the summing up, I think, on this basis. Comrade Bhawana, do you want to say some final remarks then?
Thank you so much for having me. And yes, what I believe and what my analysis is, the crisis going on all over the world, and the fight back, conscious thinking, not against the capitalism, but against the corruption and all, and the fascism and all. But the root is capitalism. So all the dissatisfactions and all the uprisings are directly linked to the capitalism and the exploitations. Is Rosa said that the youth, and just like in Nepal, who are just the reserved army, we are uh, exploited. We don't have jobs, and if there are few jobs, then we need nepotism and all other political backies, or the support to get the job. And the working hours are getting higher and higher, and for survival there is no option left in Nepal. And if I want to, or if any youth want to, survive, they need to leave the country. And in that process, there is a state who is protecting the uh, manpower companies, or state itself is working as a manpower agent, who is selling its public people to all the world. Is a uh, refugee and all other things. I think you all are updated about this. The state itself involved to sell the Nepalese young and the people to other countries as a worker. I mean, these exploitations by manpower companies, and there is fraud going on. So there is no option left to work or to remain within the country, and to go outside the country to sell labor power. It's hard. And after the uprising, yes, again, working class youths they are suffering. The UAE have recently banned the visa for Nepalese, and this is going on. So the situation is again going worse. It's going to be worse, and there will I mean, time and again we'll have uprising and all these things until we solve this permanently. And this is the global trend, I think. The uh, dependent development or in the Philippines or in Indonesia, the dependent development has not solved or has not give the better life to the people who are involved in productions or who are working, but a few elite there. So the frustration is coming there. The people are working there. The roads and buildings are getting bigger and higher, but the conditions is getting worse and worse. Most people are, I mean, the majority are being impoverished, or they just have the chain of exploitation, but nothing other than this. So this is the global trend, and yes, uprising are going on, but we need to channel it to the right directions, and we need to unify it or make it collective resistance or a collective fight against the capitalism. We can't just defeat it and establish workers or I mean the country or state here only in Nepal. So it's our collective task. We are divided, but our enemy is very strong. They are working strategically, and they are smart. I mean, they are doing their it's every effort they are putting. So we need to get united, have a global moment, global solidarity, and how can we, I mean, we have discussed how can we help each other. I mean, how can we amplify the moment or the uprising happening in the other countries in the global south. I mean, to the Timor Leste, to the Madagascar, to the Nepal, and all. How can we connect this all? And how can we make a collective moment? This is the major thing. I mean, in my understanding. So thank you so much, and thank you for bearing me and my. Uh, I mean, thank you for bearing me. Yes, and it was a huge opportunity for me to get connected with you all. I know you all come from a very, I mean, intellect and a very big background and history you all have. I'm just in the beginning, or I'm just learning. I'm at the very beginning phase. So yes, we'll love to get connected time and again. I'll try to attend all the sessions or the meetings of WIN, and if possible, in other means. Uh, I would love to, and all the young comrades of Nepal will love to connect with you all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Comrade. That's really very interesting, very useful, and I hope we can continue to work with you, because obviously this process will carry on, and if we can interchange as much as we can, that's really helpful in terms of understanding, an understanding, and in terms, as you say, of building something on an international basis. Roger, do you want to say something about the future?
Yes, thank you, Comrade. First of all, can I make an appeal to all the new comrades from Nepal who've participated or attended today? Could you please send me, either to me or to the generally to everyone, your email addresses? If you could put them in the chat, please, so that we can put you on the mailing list. I think Bhawana, you're on the mailing list now, but we welcome all of you to participate. For instance, last week we had about 40 or 45 new names from comrades from Indonesia who signed up for our mailing list, and I hope all of you from Nepal will also join us and participate in future meetings. And Bhawana, you're always very welcome at our meetings. And Rahmat, thank you. Very good to see you too. So, comrades, as I already indicated, next week we've got a bit of a a special meeting because we've managed to enlist a a member of parliament a member of the Knesset in Israel, a communist, a member of the Communist Party, who will speak, who's somebody who suffered obviously some severe pressure and actually violence. We booked him a few weeks ago to speak, and he was unable to come because he'd actually been assaulted, beaten up on the street, and we hope very much that he'll be safe and that he'll be able to attend next week. I think that's going to be a very, very interesting meeting, and I hope that everybody will come and tell your friends and make sure we can give him, a large audience. And the week after that, continuing with our series on the Asian Youth Uprising, a comrade from Philippines, which is where the latest outbreak of unrest has taken place. A comrade from Philippines will be speaking. That's in 2 weeks' time. So I look forward to hearing you. Can you please use the chat? I see one comrade has done so far, but please, everybody, please make sure you get on our mailing list for notices of future meetings. And thanks very much to everybody who participated. I thought it was one of our best discussions. Thank you so much. Bye, comrades.
Thank you.
Thank you.